Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello, welcome to the Real Estate Investing podcast for professional men and women. I'm glad you're here. I look forward to helping you out again. Hope you liked the last podcast. I think you're going to really like this one. So on this one, I'm going to focus on flipping. How do you actually find the good flipping deals? Okay. Now remember, because of the nature of our community, we're made up of mostly professionals in our different industries. We're chiropractors, we're dentists, we're teachers, we're firemen, policemen, we're engineers, we're pilots, we're different military branches, retired, active duty, reserves, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. We're professionally minded, whether we're serving the community by teaching or as a police officer or fireman or military, or we have a service business, chiropractors, dentists, lots of engineers own their own practices, structural engineer businesses, civil engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, software engineers, okay, people who are consulting, writing software for people. We just tend to look at things through a different lens, a more professional lens, okay? And the reason I mention this and emphasize this is we're not interested in a no money down owner financing stuff, guys, okay? I can tell you if you know people who've done that, you probably recognize that it's taken them forever to put up enough substantial wealth and income that they can retire. In fact, they literally create themselves another job. Well, we don't want to do that. We're already pretty busy. We already run a business in most cases, okay? So the point is we like using more fundamental techniques. Just think Larry Bird, back in, basketball great, or Michael Jordan, two of the greatest. Both of them practice the fundamentals every day, day in, day out, and literally to the last day, the last games. I mean, amazing stories, those two guys, and lots of footage on the last game of their career, and watch what they do and how they play, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The fact is, it's people that focus on the fundamentals that win the game, okay? And one of those fundamentals is we don't do no money down owner financing stuff, all right? We buy decent properties. We use cash as much as possible, okay? In any case, it's a better longer-term approach to building up wealth and income. In fact, I can tell you, even though it sounds like more work, it's not. The fact is the shortcut ends up usually being a long cut, and what looks like the long roll-up-your-sleeves approach ends up being the shortcut, okay? So let's just get right down to it here. The good news is, obviously, we have a community with all these folks involved, and you can certainly be part of it, too, if you're not already. Just let us know if you have an interest in that. You can go to myinvestmentservices.com. That's myinvestmentservices.com. There's information on there, free reports you can get. There's training programs you can take. You can do that later if you want. For right now, I just want to give you some basics to get you started, okay? But the community is there for you if you'd like to do that. So let's talk about flipping. A couple things. I'm going to give you a foundation of data first, okay? How do we know where to look and what specific neighborhoods to look in? How do we validate that? Okay. And then more importantly, how do we contact the owners of properties in those areas that need to or want to sell? Let's just approach it one step at a time. First things first, let's just assume, for example, we want to flip. That's why this podcast is focused on flipping, because flipping is the one that most people are drawn to because it's fun, it's glamorous, and you get a lot of joy out of taking a property, making it better, and you also find a big thrill in cashing a big check. Well, who doesn't? So in any case, back to this. We use a tool called a school report. It's something we developed ourselves in-house. It's proprietary. A school report shows you real estate sales activity based on school area, and not just ratios and statistics. We're talking about real bona fide raw data. This is the difference. Lots of realtors can give you lots of reports with days on market, absorption reports, blah, 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 blah. Good stuff. I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's just that when you're investing our dollars, you and I, we want to have raw data, guys, because would you agree? Raw data is where it's at. You can't go wrong with raw data. It's just telling you the exact truth, okay? And like a ratio or a statistic that can steer you incorrectly sometimes. I mean, let's face it. A neighborhood that has only one house for sale right now and has sold two in the last 90 days, that's a good ratio. if you want to increase the value of a property. Okay, but if you really want to invest in a neighborhood, it wouldn't make sense because there's not enough activity there. When you're investing, you need turnover, you need activity, you need transactional activity occurring, and the school report shows you that in raw data form. So for every school area, we look at what's actively listed for sale now and what is sold in 90 days, and we do it in price ranges. Typically $50,000 brackets up to $500,000. Then we do $100,000 brackets to $1 million, and then we do $250,000 brackets after that. Okay, it gives us a real good snapshot of where we have what we call not just supply and demand. So write that down, supply and demand. Sounds obvious, but the next thing is more important, volume and velocity. That's what I really want you to write down. So write down supply and demand, and then write above it or below it or beside it, write volume and velocity. So it's not so much that we need to know that we have a great balance of supply and demand, slightly more demand than supply, by the way, when you're flipping, but we need to know volume, how many, and velocity, how fast. We want to know how many are for sale and how fast they've been moving off the shelves. That's why we like raw data. So I got a feeling I just made a lot of friends with a lot of you. Critical report. When we discovered this, guys, it changed how I flip homes. Okay, I was no longer flipping as many. As a result, I was flipping fewer, but I was making on average more money per flip because I had data. I was making data-driven decisions. Okay. Any case, next thing is this. We want to narrow things down even further, and we have a great tool that allows us to do that, and it's free. It's from the U.S. Postal Service. This is in the U.S., by the way. In Canada, we use a different approach, and I live part-time in Canada, so same concept, different tools, right? Different postal service, different census system, everything's different, but the same fundamentals. In any case, let's just take the U.S., okay? U.S. Postal Service has a program called Every Door Direct Marketing, EDDM. You've probably heard of it because if you got a practice, you probably used EDDM to market your practice. It's pretty good. I mean, it's a postcard system essentially, but what I'm getting at is we don't use postcards for investing. What we use is the raw data. So we get more raw data that's at the zip code level. So for every zip code in the U.S., you can plug it in Melissa data, and it gives you all the postal routes, all the carrier routes that the postman takes within that zip code carrying the mail through the streets, including street names and everything. Starting to sound like good information? Well, it definitely is. It not only gives you the carrier routes, it gives you the number of businesses in the carrier route. It gives you the number of homes in the carrier route, the number of single-family homes. Gives you the number of apartments in the carrier route. Okay. It also gives you the average salary of what people make. Okay. And the average property value. All really good information. The difference is this information, like the school report data, comes from our realtors. I'll explain that in a little bit later here, but the MLS systems guys don't give you all the data in the area. They don't. In fact, probably half the investor transactions are not even on the MLS. However, Melissa data gets the data from your local tax assessor, and so that data is accurate and complete and updated on a monthly basis. So what I'm getting at here is the combination of these two tools, school report and Melissa data, allows us to narrow down our search area based on something important to consumers who want to know when they're going to buy a house, what school area their kids are going to school in. Remember, when you're flipping a home, guys, you can't just think about the price you're paying right now. You got to think about who's going to buy the house once you've remodeled it and put it back on the market. Well, that's your typical middle-class family buying a medium-price home with 2.1 kids. And believe me, they want to know where the kids are going to school. So we focus on school area. Then we use Melissa data to focus on specific carrier routes within zip codes that are in those school area district lines. Okay, so that's the relationship between these two tools. Hey, while you're listening, just a quick note that we do have the venue secured for our next 3-day event. That is in August 23rd, 24th, 25th. That's a Friday, Saturday, and half a Sunday up in Boston, Massachusetts. Awesome time of year to be there. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency in Cambridge. That's 575 Memorial Drive, Cambridge, 02157. Now, we're going to put this in the show notes. So those of you who would like to register, just look in the show notes for the registration link, and now you can go ahead and register. In any case, I look forward to seeing you there. Come get some lobster. Come see a Sox game. It's the weekend before Memorial Day, so why don't you make a trip of it and go out to the Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. Man, go up to Old Orchard Beach, Maine. But the main thing is come to learn and earn and network with everyone else in the organization here. We're only doing this twice this year, as far as we know. So here's your opportunity. Come on aboard, ramp up your game, get in the game if you're not in the game yet. But more importantly, have some fun, learn how to leverage what you're already doing to generate additional streams of income, particularly when it comes to your practice and your own investing in real estate. Okay, back to the show. Take care. Now, we're still not done. We've done a good job of looking at the macro level and narrowing it down to the micro level. In other words, we went from a massive ocean of data, narrowed it down by school area and price range, and then we narrowed it further by zip code and individual neighborhood. So now we've got micro level, nitty gritty, specific data we can use, and we know specifically where to look for homes to flip. So we're going to validate all this using another simple tool that's also free. It's your local planning commission. Every county has a planning commission. Every municipality has a planning commission. This is true in the U.S. and Canada. Okay. Well, those planning commissions, typically the county ones, have a lot of great data, particularly demographic and social graphic data, and most importantly, real estate data. Okay. So what we do is we drill down into those individual websites and go down to what we call the census tract level. See, these planning commissions generally get their data from a number of sources. Number one is uscensus.gov, because that goes right down to the tract. The tract level is like a neighborhood. Also, again, your planning commission, your tax, property tax assessor, that database, that's all included. So what we're looking for is demographics and social graphics. In other words, you might find a really good house at a good deal in a good neighborhood and remodel it and go try to flip it and wonder why that family with 2.1 children is not moving there. Well, maybe because that neighborhood demographically it's elder, maybe the population there, their children are already grown and gone and went to college and got married and moved on. So you have a lot of empty nesters there, and we call them emerging retirees. They're looking to sometimes downsize or move south or whatever it is. I can tell you, they're not interested in cutting grass anymore and shoveling snow and fixing stuff, and they want to pay other people to do that, right? So they're moving. Well, they're great neighborhoods. Okay, so what we're looking for are neighborhoods where people are leaving, but also people want to move in because it's a great school area. And we can determine that by looking at social graphics and demographics on these planning commission websites. So I better take a quick pause here and let you guys catch up on that before I go into the next part of this podcast. That's the data part. I just gave you the part that's probably you master that part, guys, and you got yourself a business. Okay. If you don't master what I just described to you, you're going to be basically throwing darts with a blindfold on, or what we call shooting a fly with a shotgun. Okay. We don't want to do that. The way we do this, our business, whether in our community, with all the other, investors who are also professionals in their own fields, the ones that who I described earlier, we're more interested in targeted marketing, in niche level marketing, which I'll go into next. Okay. But right now, you know where to look, macro level, micro level. You know how to validate it using planning commission websites. So we talked about school report, Melissa data, planning commission website. There's other ways to do this. I just want to give you the simplest, most basic stuff that usually doesn't cost you anything. The school report you'll have to get from a realtor who we've trained. Most realtors don't have it because it's proprietary. And the good news is I personally trained about 14,000 realtors in all 48 lower 48 states in 3 Canadian provinces, Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. So we've literally got agents we train, guys, for you in over 600 cities and towns. Not many places you can be where we don't have an agent we can help you. So just be part of the community. We let those guys in too because we train them. They have to be trained to be part of the community to serve you. They're certified. They know how to do the school report. In any case, all right, second part of the podcast. How do we actually locate the properties? A couple of great tools. I'll give you 2 of them. One of them is something we call Bank Tracker. It's actually a .org. It's an org created by American University students, and I think it was it NBC or one of the big 3 major networks going back to about year 2000, and they were tracking bank mortgage loan information, okay? And they were predicting the economic downfall long before CNN ever was, okay? So what they do is you can plug in any bank on there you want, any bank in the country, bank or credit union, and see if they have loans that are heading south. We call them non-performing assets. Remember, To the bank, the mortgage, the loan on the property is the asset, not the property, right? The loan is the asset to the bank. To us, the loan is a liability, and the property is the asset. So in any case, we can see what banks have properties heading into foreclosure, and we can contact them, get the properties, okay, using that tool. Lots of great data on that tool. One of my favorite tools of all time. I've used it personally as an investor, and I've also used it as a broker representing other investors like you, okay? And I do teach the agents how to do this, by the way, the ones that you want to work with. That's one tool. And you can go in and approach these bankers yourself directly, or just have your realtor do it. I have to have trained them before I have them work with you. But if you want to do this yourself, you don't have to be a realtor. You can do it yourself. And you simply go in, cut to the chase. Don't beat around the bush. Don't invite them to lunch. We'll have time for that later on. Get right to the point. Go right to the person in charge and say, look, I'm interested in properties just like yours. Okay. I just want to buy one. Okay. You might want to buy more, but just start with one. So let's do one together. And when you like the results, then perhaps we can do more. That's your script. That's short and simple. I just know this. The shorter I made over the years, the better the response rate I got. I'll repeat it for you. Hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm interested in properties just like yours. I just want to buy one. So let's do one together. And when you like the results, perhaps we can do more. Okay. At that point, they're going to be looking at you like, what are you talking about? But what the point is this is you basically established a beachhead, and you can move in. They might say something like this. Well, what is it you're referring to? Tell them, oh, you're non-performing assets. They'll know what that means. Don't say foreclosure in the bank lobby. Okay. Don't do that. And they might say, well, you got to talk to Bob. Bob's the attorney on the board at Hennesar Foreclosures, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, get out your pen and paper and write down who, what, where, when, how. Who's Bob? Where's Bob? How do I contact Bob? What's Bob's contact information? And when's the best time to contact Bob? Now you got yourself a transaction. Okay. That's one opportunity. I'm just giving you some real easy, low-hanging fruit type stuff here, guys. So nothing real complex. But if you're a professional like me and you got your own business, you're not going to have time to do this. You just want to have somebody do it for you, which is where we call the investor agent comes in. I kind of touched on them earlier, but I'll tell you more about that later on another podcast. You can find them on the community site on myinvestmentservices.com. Okay, second approach is this. We use a really handy, nifty letter, not like one you've seen been floating around, not yellow letter, not a boilerplate letter, not one with a letterhead. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. This is a personalized letter written directly to specific owners of specific properties. Okay? It's not a broadcast marketing technique. It's a niche level, highly targeted marketing technique, and it works. Because it's niche level, it's niche marketing, and because it's highly targeted, we only target specific owners of specific properties. So, for example, once we've determined based on school area and Melissa data and Planning Commission website where we're going to invest, we've now got to approach owners of properties in those areas. We don't want to send every owner this letter. What we'll do is we'll go to public records online. Every county has your an online website that you can go look at public records. This is information that's made publicly available to you and I. And they'll have, property tax information in there. They'll also have court records of people filing lawsuits against each other. So, for example, when someone goes through a divorce, one member of the couple is going to file a lawsuit against the other member of the couple, filing for divorce. Okay, suing for divorce is what they're doing. Well, guess what? You can see those records. You don't get all the details. If you're an attorney, you can, but we don't care about we don't care who did what to whom. What we care about is name and address. You can see the name and address of the people going through divorce. Okay, and more importantly, you've already determined using school report and Melissa data which zip code you should be in. So now you only look for the records that have zip codes that match the zip codes you should be flipping homes in. And then those people would get the letter. People getting divorced in those specific zip codes. Sound like a good idea? Well, it doesn't just work for divorces. You can do it for probate, which is decedents. Of course, the obvious, bankruptcy, foreclosure. How about landlord-tenant cases? The landlords who are evicting tenants on a regular basis probably want to get out of that property, okay? They're probably doing a bad job of managing rentals, which, by the way, the next podcast is going to be about rentals. So in any case, we use that letter, a great letter. I'll give you the wording here, but if you really want to use a letter, I suggest you team up with one of the agents we train on the community site, and they'll do all the legwork for you, and you just let them do the work, and you make the critical decisions. But the letter is this. First, we always use first name only on the salutation because we have that information. The only time I would use last name is if the owner of the property we're sending a letter to is a doctor. Okay, then we would say doctor and their last name. Otherwise, we would say Dear Bob. How about this? How about Dear John? I'm writing to you about your property located at X. X is the address that the property is located. Next sentence. I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. Okay. However, inventory is tight right now, and I'm interested in properties just like yours. Or our realtors, we would have them say, and I have clients interested in properties just like yours. Okay. In any case, you could also, if what we do with the realtors guys is we would have them name you your last name specifically. I have clients like Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones or Dr. Smith, whatever, who want to buy a property just like yours in your area. That's very important to use these exact words. Okay. Now, what you've done is you've kind of boxed them in. You use a sentence right off the bat that names their property specifically, right after you name them personally. Okay, then you use what's called a positioning statement to position them to have to read what's next. When you said, I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to, creates a subconscious seed in their mind to sell the property, number one. Number two is when you say, I'm not, their brain's responding with, well, then what is it? And they have to read what's next. That's called a positioning statement. Okay, followed by inventory's tight, and I'm interested in properties just like yours, or I have clients like Mr. Smith interested in properties just like yours. Makes it very specific and very real. Just like yours in your area. Then we're going to make an offer to them, but before we do, we're going to soften them up by saying this. That's why I specifically sought you out. That's why I specifically sought you out. And then you say this, even if you're just curious about what your property would sell for, please let me know. I'll be glad to give you a free evaluation. Then you sign it and date it and put your contact information on there. That's one of the best techniques I've used over the years. Lots of success, thousands of properties. I want to kind of wrap up the podcast with that one because I thought you really like that. Remember fundamentals, guys, basic, simple stuff. Okay. So always think about how you can use this yourself. If you really are interested in investing and you're just really short on time, just contact us, email support@myinvestorservices.com. Go online. There's a contact form there you can fill out. You can't get on the community site. You have to be a member of the community to be on the community site, but you can look into that if you'd like to. Just let us know. And always remember, subscribe to the podcast. It's on, iHeart and iTunes. There's a number of ways. If you're listening to it, you'll know how to subscribe to the podcast, right? And this is all about you. It's all about you figuring out how you can take what you got in your business or your practice and leverage it to generate more wealth and income, and more importantly, position you so that you're not stuck behind the chair. Okay, that's what this is all about. So I'm glad to be doing it. I hope you enjoy it. I look forward to the next one. In the meantime, God bless you and your families, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. Be sure to go to myinvestmentservices.com to join our community and start building wealth today.